from shadow, sealed in truth, ancient blood, but faith rooted proof. History whispers, legends pretend. She chose the light where darkness ends. Eyes that see what most can't find. Gift of foresight, disciplined mind. Cross held steady, heart on guard. Truth cuts clean when nights get hard. She reads the silence, feels the room. Past and present start to bloom. Fear don't live where faith stands firm. Another veil about to burn. Welcome to the diva dimension, where darkness meets divine intervention. Royal blood, but heaven sent. She don't flinch at what's being mentioned. From cold cases to restless minds, she pulls the truth from broken time. Grace and steel, intuition. Step inside the diva dimension. Duchess title, worn with.
Hey,
Hey, what's up, Donny?
yeah, I almost ended the show by mistake. I thought I couldn't find the button to just end the theme song, but then I finally found it. But yeah, how's it going?
Hey, everything's fine. Let me look for Danielle. Maybe she's underneath this desk. I haven't seen her. I don't know where she's at. No.
Yeah, if people in there are honestly are paying attention. I put it in the description that Miss Danielle's got the night off tonight.
Yeah, she has the night off. She's doing some kind of big dinner shindig in which she's a host. So she's having a lot of fun, but she misses everybody. And she wants me and Donnie to go ahead and do the show tonight. And I got a treat for you guys. I hope everybody has some popcorn because we're going to watch a movie. And the movie's very true. And if you have something to say about this movie, just we'll play a little game of stop and go. We'll stop it. We'll address your concerns, your questions. And I think you're going to like this because it's about a very haunted road. Where witches, the KKK, a ghostly policeman, a ghost on a tractor. There's so much on this road. There's even a ghostly hitchhiker. So I think you're going to really like this story. And yes, I was involved. I was one of the paranormal investigators that investigated this very haunted road called Dyer Lane. And Donnie, go ahead and start the video.
All right.
It's past midnight on a moonless summer night. A lone car creeps along Dyer Lane, its headlights carving a tunnel through the gloom. Inside the car, Heather Chesser grips the wheel tightly. The only sounds are the crunch of gravel under her tires and the distant chorus of frogs. Suddenly, a flash of multiple headlights flare to life behind her. 3 cars roar out of the darkness, engines revving. Heather's heart leaps as she fumbles to understand what's happening. A crackling voice blares over a speaker from somewhere in the night. Stop!
Turn around!
Heather's pulse jackhammers. She glances at her family in the car. They're confused and terrified as she is. One car brakes in front, another lurches to the side, and a third pins them from behind. 3 vehicles have now swarmed around Heather's vehicle, boxing them in on the desolate road, forcing Heather to slow down to a complete stop. Heather and her family are now trapped. In the dim red glow of her headlights, she sees a figure step out from one of the cars, face obscured by a mask. The masked man kicks hard, shattering one of Heather's taillights. Heather hands shaking, her adrenaline flooding her veins as panic starts to surge, And now another pair of headlights appears far down the lane. And the assailants notice this extra pair of headlights, so they scatter. Those mysterious cars peel off into the night, leaving Heather and her family trembling in the silent darkness. It feels like a scene ripped from Nocturnal Animals, right? But it happened for real, right there on Dyer Lane in 2019. To understand how a quiet country back road became the setting for both eerie legends and real-life terror, we have to go back to the very beginning of Dyer Lane's dark history. In the mid-19th century, during the influx of settlers following the 1849 gold rush, a man named John R. Dyer from Missouri journeyed west and established a ranch on this land. John R. Dyer, born 1833 in Missouri, and his wife Julius Agnes Dyer settled in the area sometime between 1854 and 1857.
So where is this place exactly?
Dyer Lane is in Alberta, California, which is very close to Sacramento, California. And it's
okay,
almost,
so it's in the Sacramento area?
yeah, in the Sacramento area. Yeah. And
Okay.
very spooky road.
Right.
Dyer became a prominent early settler of the community. The dirt road passing through his property naturally came to bear his name, Dyer Lane, as it led to and through the Dyer Ranch. And for decades, the Dyer family lived and worked on their ranch along this quiet country lane. Julia Dyer died in May 1896, and John R. Dyer continued ranching here until his own death in August 1913. Now, their son then took over the operation of the ranch, keeping the property and the family well into the 20th century. It wasn't until around 1856 that the Dyer Ranch was finally sold to a new owner, ending over a century of the Dyer family's presence on the lane. Today, Dyer Lane is a short, unassuming stretch of rural road outside Sacramento, California, just north of Gibson Ranch and near the edge of Roseville. Now, there's something rather unsettling about this place, and you can kind of see how nightmares come to life once the sun sets. Flat open fields on either side, a broken line of gnarled oak trees arching overhead, cracked asphalt marked by years and years of wear. It's isolated with the glow of suburban neighborhoods just barely visible on the horizon at night. And over the decades, this lonely lane became an unofficial dumping ground to discarded furniture, whatever else you want to dump there. The result is a road that feels forgotten and unsettling. The perfect breeding ground for ghost stories. For generations, teens have dared each other to drive it at night, windows down, lights off, waiting for something, anything, to scare them. And Dyer Lane obliges with a rogue gallery of rumored horrors. So let's take a look at some of the local lore and legends surrounding this dark passage. The cursed witches of the 1930s. Legend says that in the early 1930s, a coven of 6 witches practiced rituals in the fields near Dyer Lane. One fateful night, a group of local boys stalked and attacked them, forcing themselves on them and murdering 2 of the witches, while the others escaped and allegedly cursed the boys with their dying breaths. In true horror story fashion, each of those boys supposedly met an untimely and bizarre death soon after. Hit by a truck, stabbed in an alley, drowning, a freak skiing accident. And to this day, the lore insists that if you were to encounter these witches' spirits on Dyer Lane, you too will be cursed to die an unnatural death. The Ku Klux Klan lynchings. Another story places the clandestine KKK gatherings on Dyer Lane in the mid-20th century. It's rumored that Klansmen held cross burnings in the fields. Visitors claim that late at night, you might catch a glimpse of white hooded figures standing in a circle amongst the trees. Notably, Dyer Lane is indeed a remote rural spot in the 1930s and 50s, and the KKK did have chapters in California.
I was about to say, I was like, they had KKK in California?
Oh, yeah.
Which leaves a thin veneer
Yeah, and then he answered my question.
of plausibility to those who repeat the tale. The ghostly farmer. A less violent but equally spooky legend speaks of a phantom farmer on a tractor. Locals have reported seeing an old farmer plowing the field late at night, only to watch him fade away into nothing when approached. The backstory given is that there was a farmer named John Wilkins, and he died tragically in 1946, supposedly on Dyer Lane. When he was out working his land at night, he encountered the spirits of the aforementioned witches. In the legend, the spectral witches distracted him, causing John to fall and get run over by his own tractor, which crushed him to death. His ghost is now said to roam with his tractor, eternally tilling the fields. The satanic cult and the demon Amdusia. Dyer Lane's folklore also taps into the 1960s-70s satanic panic. One popular story claims that in 1967, a satanic cult called the Order of Amdusias. Amdusia is described as a great duke of hell, commanding 29 or 30 legions of demons. He is said to cause unseen musical instruments to be heard and cause trees to bend or become barren. And he can also change into a unicorn or a human upon request. This cult order used the fields along Dyer Lane for dark rituals. According to this tale, the cultists decided to perform a human sacrifice to invoke the demon. They kidnapped a young woman, sometimes said to be a member's sister, and murdered her in the midnight ritual, plunging a knife directly into her chest while chanting to summon Amdusia. The legend describes thunder, phantom trumpets, trees bending as the demon appeared. In the aftermath, several cult members met mysterious deaths. One found on a park bench with his throat slashed, seemingly punished for their deeds. And to this day, if you listen carefully at night, you might hear disembodied chanting in the Dyer Lane fields. Those brave or foolish enough to investigate have reported strange scratches appearing on their bodies, usually 3 claw-like marks, as if something unseen attacked them. The unexplained scratches and phantom noises have been commonly reported by thrill seekers on Dyer Lane. In fact, one local recounted a story from homecoming night in the 2000s. A group of teens brought a Ouija board to Dyer Lane, and one girl began screaming as she felt burning sensations on her body. They discovered deep, fresh scratch marks gouged into her back for no apparent reason. The Haunted Hitchhiker. Rounding out Dyer Lane's catalog of haunts is the classic Vanishing Hitchhiker tale. The story goes that in 1969, a hippie drifter named Ed Beacon camped near Dyer Lane on his way through town. In the dead of night, nearby residents heard a man screaming. By the time they found Ed, he was on the road in convulsions, babbling, the chanting, before dying suddenly. This kind of dovetails with the demon cult legend, right? Implying that Ed stumbled upon something unearthly. And ever since, people have occasionally reported seeing a lone hitchhiker along Dyer Lane, a shaggy man with a sack over his shoulder and his thumb out, as if looking for a ride. Those who claim to have picked him up get a sort of fright, right? At some point on their drive, the mysterious passenger simply vanishes from the car without a trace. Or maybe you get so startled that you crash your car. The phantom police officer who died during a high-speed chase down Dyer Lane. He now patrols that area.
So did you hear about all of these before you made it on this show?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's just all kinds of people that will park on the side of the road. And I was just going right up to them and getting the story. The story, when I got out of the Army, I heard the story. It was from word to mouth. And I said, this isn't recorded anywhere. No one's wrote it down. And I was actually the first journalist to actually write the story down.
All right.
You know, when he was talking about the witches, also too, the witches' coven was called Morrigan's Coven. And Morrigan is an Irish warrior goddess, and she represents war and death.
Nice.
Oh, and listen, you guys, if you have any questions about this, go ahead and stop Donny, and I'll answer it.
Yeah, I'll spot him.
And he will pull you over. Creepy. And there are so many other ghostly encounters over the years at Dyer Lane. Some visitors talk about eerie handprints appearing on their cars by the end of the drive, or strange mists and light in the trees. Others describe apparitions like a woman in a white prom dress wandering the road barefoot, or a child playing with a ball and a horse. And it's no wonder this road has been called the most haunted in Sacramento.
people say is haunted. It's so bad that the police actually put out a warning about it today on Facebook.
Yet for all this chilling lore, many longtime residents roll their eyes. They know Dyer Lane as nothing more than a poorly maintained cut-through with spooky trees and a lot of trash. One local claims, and I quote, "Dyer Lane is just a shitty old country road. The only frightening thing we ever saw here was a tweaker dumping a mattress in the dead of night." And look, sometimes, as most of us know, ghosts don't or won't reveal themselves to everyone, right? It takes a special someone. But we do have to talk about something here. There was a blogger, researcher, and historian named Jam Rubio, and she claims to have dug into the archives, and she says that 99% of the stories circulated are false, saying law enforcement has zero records of any murdered witches, no slain police officer, no reports of demons summoning or fatal tractor accidents on Dyer Lane. Now look, it would appear that on her end, it looks like these tales are just that, right? Tales to thrill and scare passed around campfires and online forums. But that doesn't mean that nothing sinister has actually happened here, because the real truth is Dyer Lane has seen some real horrors. The kind of violence and tragedy no fictional ghost could rival. The folklore might mostly be the you gotta see it to believe it kind of stories, but soon actual blood would be spilled on Dyer Lane. So let's leave the hazy legends under the trees and step forward in time towards the first documented act of violence that stained Dyer Lane's history. It's a crisp spring evening on March 23rd, 1985, a Saturday just after midnight. Under the cover of darkness, nearly 100 teenagers from nearby high schools converged on Dyer Lane for what was essentially a pre-arranged gang fight. There were two cliques with bad blood between them. On one side, you got the band of punk rocker kids called the Punkers, and on the other, a group of students, as local youth called the Straights, from Rio Lindo High. The feud had sparked at school dances days earlier, and now these kids wanted to settle the score. The only way they knew how was with fists and fury on a lonely road far from adults' eyes. You can imagine the scene, right? Dozens of car headlights illuminating the lane, silhouettes of teenagers circling each other, shouting in anger and adrenaline. What started with shoves and punches quickly spiraled out of control. Someone pulled a knife, then another, and in the chaos of that midnight melee, two youths were stabbed. As the crowd scattered and panicked, one 19-year-old William Bill Mullen stumbled and collapsed, bleeding profusely. At first, his friends didn't realize how severe his injuries were, and then they saw the blood. The fight immediately became irrelevant. A group of them lifted William into the back of a pickup truck and drove towards the hospital, trying to keep pressure on the wound as they went on. The truck was packed with teenagers who were panicking, crying, and shouting directions to the driver. They never reached medical care. On Watt Avenue in North Highlands, they flagged down a Sacramento County Sheriff's deputy. The deputy called for an ambulance, but when they checked William, he was already dead. He died there on the roadside just minutes from help. Police later confirmed that approximately 80 teenagers had been present on Dyer Lane that night. The other two youths were injured, one beaten and another stabbed, but not fatally. Investigators recovered a hunting knife from the scene, but despite the number of witnesses, no arrests and connections were made with William's death. William Mullen was buried days later. His family asked that donations be made to the Children's Heart Fund. There was no legend that night, just a group of teenagers, a confrontation that got out of control, and a single stab wound that permanently changed how this road would be remembered. And we are far from done. After 1985, Dyer Lane's creepy reputation only grew. Now parents had a real reason to warn the kids away from late-night drives out there. But the violence wasn't over. A decade later, the road saw an even more chilling incident. On the night of March 9th, 1995, a passerby made a gruesome discovery on Dyer Lane's gravel shoulder. The body of a 20-year-old man named Manuel Horatio Alvarez slumped lifeless with multiple gunshot wounds to his head and body. It looked like an execution. Rumors swirled. Was this a gang hit, a drug deal gone wrong? Investigators dug in, and a disturbing story emerged. Alvarez had been out on that deserted road with an acquaintance, smoking marijuana in the dark. At some point, the acquaintance, possibly addled by drugs or paranoia, became convinced that Alvarez was an undercover agent, setting him up. So, in a burst of deadly suspicion, he shot Alvarez execution style and fled. Two eyewitnesses later recounted that the killer's actions were driven by this vague delusional belief about Alvarez betraying him. The murder was senseless and cold-blooded, and once again, Dyer Lane's name appeared in the crime sections of local newspapers. People began to ask whether it was a coincidence or whether the road's isolation itself played a role. The same remoteness that once made it a place for teenagers to gather also made it a place where trouble could unfold unseen. And as the 20th century drew to a close, many assumed Dyer Lane's darkest chapters were already written, but they were wrong. As a new millennium approached, a crime would occur that eclipsed everything that came before it, an act of violence so severe it drew national attention and permanently embedded Dyer Lane in a far darker history. August 21st, 2001, also my birthday, the Sacramento Valley was locked in the heavy heat of late summer as police officers and volunteers continued a desperate search across the rural outskirts of the region. For days, they had been combing fields, canals, and dirt roads, following the aftermath of one of the most devastating killing sprees Northern California had ever seen. That morning, near a power line tower in a field off Dyer Lane, a sheriff's deputy noticed something among the dry weeds and scattered debris of what became an informal dumping site. As he approached, it became clear what he was looking at. The body of a small boy lay there, discarded and alone. The child's throat had been cut. He was 3 years old, and his name was Sergei Soltis. Sergei's father was Nikolai Soltis, a 27-year-old Ukrainian immigrant who had gone on a murderous rampage just one day earlier. In a single morning, Soltis butchered 6 members of his own family. He killed his pregnant wife in their North Highlands home, then drove 20 miles to his relative's house, where he stabbed to death his aunt, his uncle, and their 2 young grandchildren. The carnage was unbelievably savage. After the slayings, Nikolai grabbed his little son Sergei and disappeared. The community was in a frenzy. Law enforcement launched a massive manhunt, and Nikolai was quickly placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list. Police feared that Nikolai might kill again and urgently warned his remaining family members to go into hiding. For days, Nikolai eluded capture, and hopes hung on the faint chance that he would at least spare his child. Those hopes were cruelly dashed when Sergei's lifeless body was found dumped on Dyer Lane. In the end, Nikolai was caught hiding in his own mother's backyard, but later died in jail with an attempt on his own life before trial, escaping human justice. But that scar his crime left on the community ran deep. At Sergei's funeral, mourners wept over the tiny white casket, struggling to comprehend just the amount of evil that had touched their town. For those who grew up swapping spooky Dyer Lane stories, the Nikolai case permanently transformed this road's meaning. The real monster had revealed themselves not as ghosts or witches, but as flesh and blood killers. A local museum curator later pointed out that one old rumor about a murdered family out by Dyer Lane turned out to eerily echo the Nikolai murder. In a tragic twist, reality had validated one of the area's darkest legends. After 2001, Dyer Lane was no longer just kid stuff. Parents who might have laughed off the ghost tales were now genuinely afraid of what could happen on that lonely stretch. How do you scare someone who's already lived through real horror? Well, the answer is with the possibility that it could happen again. And indeed, after Nikolai Soltis, Dyer Lane's dark narrative was not over. Now, fast forward to spring 2017. It's been over 3 decades since the 1985 brawl and 16 years since the Nikolai Soltis massacre. Dyer Lane, now partly encroached by new housing developments, on April 26, 2017.
Livecopter 3 shows the rural area of Placer County, where sheriff deputies found 28-year-old Janet Mejia shot dead. Deputies say their missing persons unit received information that led them directly to the roadway where she was found, near Watt Avenue and Dyer Lane.
Searchers discovered her body hastily dumped in brush, wrapped in an inflatable mattress like a makeshift shroud. An autopsy later revealed that Janet had been killed by a gunshot. The investigation quickly zeroed in on her roommate, Terrace Vinson. It turned out that Vinson had shot Janet during an argument, and in a panicked attempt to hide the crime, He bundled her in a deflated air mattress and drove out to the darkest, most isolated road he knew about, Dyer Lane. He left her there among the weeds and garbage, perhaps hoping no one would find her, but she was found. Terrace Vincent was later convicted of Janet's murder and sent to prison for 85 years. Dyer Lane had claimed another victim, and another grieving family was left behind. For locals, it was as if the road had become a magnet for violence, drawing in the worst acts of humanity. Which brings us back full circle to Heather Chester's story. By 2019, the folklore of Dyer Lane was well known among internet thrill seekers. Maybe that's what lured Heather and her family to take the drive down Dyer Lane. Heather's account of the night is something out of a modern horror movie. The ambush of cars, the disembodied command to turn around, echoing from a hidden loudspeaker. The masked attacker kicking in their taillight. It was terrifying because it felt intentional. But was it a random act of violence or something more ritualistic?
Do you think their intention was to rob you guys? Did they want to fight maybe?
I'm thinking maybe fight, but I don't know. Well, they sped up past us and then they slowed down, and one of the guys in the cars had a speaker that said turn around. I was freaked out. No, but these people won't let me move. So I called 911 and got transferred 3 different times. Kept telling them, like, I'm freaking out. Can you just send help? Can you guys send help, please?
Once they were blocked in, that's when a couple of guys in the car behind them got out.
The guy that kicked out the taillight had his face covered, like with a shirt. So we couldn't make out like what he even looks like.
Heather put on her safety locks to prevent her brother-in-law from getting out and confronting them.
And I was like, no, because then it's one person against 10 other people that we know of.
Finally, a car passing them got the occupants in the 3 cars to leave. Heather is still unsure as to why they were targeted.
Just driving. Maybe the recording pissed them off. I don't know.
She says law enforcement told her there's little they can do to catch those suspects.
Really, like, what if they had guns? When I said I'm trapped in between 3 cars, can you send help, please? Like, you could have sent help then.
Some speculate it could be local teenagers or gang members playing out Dyer Lane's lore to scare outsiders. Others whispered about cult activity, perhaps a group trying to keep intruders off their sacred ground. Heather's family managed to escape physically unharmed, but the trauma of being hunted on that dark road left a lasting impression. In her own words, it was a chilling and seemingly random attack. Random or not, it reinforced a scary truth, right? On Dyer Lane, humans can be as frightening as any ghost. The road's reputation was now feeding into a dangerous feedback loop. Curious people looking for scares might venture down Dyer Lane, only to encounter real menace. Whether from criminals, vandals, or paranoid locals, and in a way, the legends were coming alive, right? Not by supernatural forces, but by actors of flesh and blood who used the lore as cover for mayhem. And just when it seemed the road's story couldn't get any stranger, it does, with a story that dragged the paranormal whispers right back to the forefront. On July 4th, 2023, Independence Day, while most Americans were enjoying barbecue and fireworks, one anonymous local was driving down Dyer Lane when they noticed a foul stench and a cluster of odd shapes along the roadside. Pulling over, their flashlight revealed a grisly tableau. The mutilated remains of several animals strewn in the dirt. It looked as though someone had slaughtered livestock and dumped the carcasses without a second thought.
A disturbing find along a rural county road with a long history of illegal dumping.
As neighbors tell us, they recently found several animal carcasses dumped on Dyer Lane.
Goat and sheep remains.
It is disheartening at times, but after 26 years, it's just the way it is.
Placer County Animal Services says livestock dumping is something it's been trying to stop here since 2010.
The remains were so mangled, they were initially unrecognizable. Pieces of something that had bled out under the summer sky. The horrified witness could make out a particularly disturbing sight. The body of a black goat decapitated, its head nowhere to be found. To anyone familiar with occult folklore, a beheaded black goat on Dyer Lane practically screams ritual sacrifice, right? But what do you think? Was this finally evidence of the satanic cult activity that had been long rumored here? The discovery made the local news, reigniting all the old fears about Dyer Lane. Placer County authorities investigated, and their official conclusion was far more mundane. They determined the animals were likely butchered livestock remains illegally dumped by some rogue meat processor after slaughter. In other words, another man's trash is another person's dark ritual. But the individual who found the carcasses wasn't convinced. They said, "I have my own opinions about what I saw. I don't believe a butcher would have beheaded a black goat and dumped it on Dyer." The implication was clear. They suspected something sinister was afoot, something beyond just a lazy rancher avoiding a rendering fee. But that truth remains ambiguous. Perhaps it really was just improper waste disposal, or perhaps the night of July 4th, when everyone else was watching fireworks, some cultish group converged on Dyer Lane to perform a sacrifice under the cover of distant booms and crackles. We'll likely never know for sure. But it's wild though, right? Seems like every few years, Dyer Lane delivers a new story, whether horrific, unexplained, or outright otherworldly. And so the curious continue to come. Ghost hunting teams regularly visit Dyer Lane, treating it like a paranormal laboratory. One group, the Halo Paranormal Investigations, calls Dyer Lane one of the most active sites they've ever seen. During a dust investigation, their digital recorders picked up eerie sounds that the team interpreted as electro voice phenomena, EVPs, faint voices answering their questions. In one recording, when an investigator called out, "Is anyone out there in the field?" the device later played back a distant, ghostly, "Help me." Even though no one had audibly heard a response in the moment, another recording captured a voice whispering, "I'm here," as if an unseen presence were trying to make contact. According to the investigators, the night was windy, yet amid the rustling of trees, their recorders caught what they believed are voices of spirits.
Would you hear that? Me your name? Would you tell me your...
What is that?
It almost sounds like help me. Would you tell me your name?
Sounds like a woman out there in the field saying, "Help me."
Oh, there you are, Paul.
Please talk to me. Let me know that you're here. Please.
Oh my God.
You watching about this one?
Yeah, that's, well, I've done about maybe 8 investigations at Dyer Lane, and I always get EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon. So the place is definitely haunted. A lot of the stories is probably bullshit, but definitely that's a creepy road. And then bad things happen there. People get beat up and all kinds of stuff. So
a lot of bad juju in that area, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw somebody walk that way.
Man, this place is active.
Talk to me.
No.
The team's psychic medium, Deanna Stinson, claims that she could see the ghosts responsible for the voices. Walking along Dyer Lane, Stinson said that she sensed residual energy from the tragedy's past, almost like snippets of history replaying themselves. She described several apparitions. One apparition was more unsettling. Stinson reported a tall figure cloaked in black silk, sort of death angel.
Like at the end of this road, I was seeing a figure, and it just reminds me of death at the very end where the arrow turns. So I don't know if there was like an accident there or what, but there's a figure very tall, and it's like black silk all hanging down, and then the face is covered, but they also are showing me that they're blindfolding somebody else, like with a black silk blindfold too. And black silk blindfolds sometimes indicate some death, so somebody I feel like died there.
Whether one believes in mediums or not, the picture she painted is creepy. Dyer Lane at night, teeming with invisible figures from different eras, all bound to this place by some unseen force. One might be tempted to dismiss such claims, sure, especially given the lack of historical evidence for many of the stories. Indeed, archival research by journalists and police have never confirmed any actual witch murders, cult sacrifices, or ghostly police chases on Dyer Lane. And yet, listening to these modern investigators talk about voices and visions, it's easy to see why this legend endures. As Stinson said, if you're looking for an adventure or a sign of the afterlife, go to a haunted place and see for yourself. It's scary, but if you want to find something, you'll find it. On Dyer Lane, belief is a powerful thing. Those who go seeking ghosts often come back with stories of strange lights or feelings of being watched. Skeptics, on the other hand, might only notice the very real hazards, potholes, dumped garbage, perhaps a shady character lurking by a bonfire in the field. But in the end, Dyer Lane is a paradox. By daylight, it's just another country road with overgrown shoulders and spray-painted road signs, and by midnight, it becomes a psychological crucible, a place where one's deepest fears can take shape. The ghosts people fear here might not literally exist, but how do you know? They're given life by each retelling, each midnight dare, each eerie encounter, whether real or imagined. And sometimes, as we've seen, flesh and blood dangers step in to fill the void that our imaginations create. Dyer Lane forces anyone who visits to ask themselves, what scares me more, the idea of a phantom watching from the trees or the possibility that a very real person with bad intentions might be waiting around the next bend? Dyer Lane remains to this day a lonely mile of asphalt that holds more stories than some entire towns. It's a place where legends were born out of boredom and fear, but where reality wrote its own bloodier script. The cold truth is that in almost every classic horror tales told about Dyer Lane, the witches, the occult rituals, the phantom cop, there's no evidence behind them. And yet, standing there at 3 a.m. when the wind moans through the branches, you might just find yourself believing in something beyond the veil. Maybe it's just the knowledge of what truly happened here, a teenager stabbed to death on the pavement, an innocent woman's body dumped amongst the weeds, and a little boy's life snuffed out and left in the dirt. Those are the real ghosts of Dyer Lane. They haunt our conscience and blur together with the fictions until it's hard to tell them apart. In a way, Dyer Lane is haunted by the weight of its history and the dark fascinations we project onto it. For the locals, Dyer Lane will always be a part of the landscape, both physically and mentally. Development is slowly encroaching, new homes creep closer each year, and one day this road might be widened, brightly lit, and even renamed. But the legacy of Dyer Lane will endure in Sacramento's lore. Whether it's teenagers looking for a scare, paranormal enthusiasts hunting for EVP, or true crime buffs recalling infamous cases, this unremarkable strip of road has secured its place in Northern California's pantheon of the creepy and unexplained. So if you ever find yourself in Sacramento around midnight with an itch for adventure, you could turn down Dyer Lane and drive real slow with your windows open, or even sit in the back of your friend's pickup truck for bonus points. And you might hear the crunch of unseen footsteps following alongside, or catch a glimpse of lights in your rearview mirror that have no business being there. You might feel a chill as if something or someone is in the car with you. Most likely, you'll encounter nothing at all, except maybe a discarded mattress and a distant cry of a coyote. But as you leave that narrow lane and re-enter the safety of city lights, ask yourself, was that just the wind in the trees? Was your mind playing tricks? Or did you really hear a whisper saying, I'm here? On Dyer Lane, you will never know. And that question mark in the back of your mind is what keeps this legend alive.
All right. That's a pretty good video.
Yeah.
Good
And it's definitely, Dyer Lane is definitely a legend. So many things happen there. In fact, we actually did an investigation on the episode called Nightmare in Antelope, which is about 1.5 miles to Dyer Lane, and at a private residence. And Ghost Adventures went to the Antelope house, which was a private home, and there was a demonic presence there. They tried to go over to Dyer Lane, but the county refused it. They didn't want it on national TV. So yeah, Ghost Adventures almost did Dyer Lane. And then also too, that one guy that he was talking about, Nikolai Soltis, who was a Ukrainian, he killed 7 family members, and one of the members was his pregnant wife. So he killed the wife, and the fetus inside of her. Um, he killed the aunt, uncle, two cousins, and his 3-year-old son, and took his 3-year-old son to Dyer Lane and dumped the body. That was horrific. I mean, Dyer Lane does have some horrible, horrible history.
He died in 2002.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then that poor girl, Janet Mejia, or something like that. In 2017, she was a college student and she was killed by her roommate, and he took her body and dumped it at Dyer Lane. Yeah, and the place is so secluded. I mean, if the West Coast Mafia was still around, they would probably dump their bodies at Dyer Lane because it was a great place to hide a body.
I'm reading a bit about this Nikolai Soltis guy. He came from a very religious background, actually.
Yeah. What was he, a Christian or Orthodox?
Yeah, he was a Pentecostal.
Okay.
Interesting. Anyway.
And then also too, the witches' coven. I think there was like 6 witches, and this happened in the 1930s, and they were actually called Morrigan's Coven. And Morrigan is a Irish warrior goddess, and she represented war and death. Some of the stories that happened at Dyer Lane, it all seems to connect to those witches because supposedly they were beaten up, they were killed, whatever. And they said that also too, there was a warlock, and he actually was intimate with all 6 witches, and whoever he planted his seed into, she would have the power of Morrigan. So that's what the story is. So yeah, there's just one story. Oh, and also too, people claim that they see red eyes. They glow in the dark. So when they're out there, they see these red eyes looking at them. And there's even been reports of UFO activity over there. So there's just one story after another over at Dyer Lane. And what really upsets me is those animal mutilations that they find over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible. Poor animals. Yeah. Yeah, and then the goat, he got decapitated. And, I mean, that definitely seems ritual.
How far is that Dyer Lane from you, actually? If without giving away your location, but like.
Oh, okay, yeah, about 45 minutes. So yeah,
you can literally just get in the car, investigate there any night you want, really, right?
Yeah, but there's too many crazy people there now.
Oh, there are all these why? There's like a heavy criminal element there.
It's a lot of high school kids looking for a thrill. Yeah. So they go to Dyer Lane, they party out there, they bring their liquor, and they look for ghosts while they're drunk, Yeah. So, and a lot of times there's fights out there. So while they're out there partying, having a good time, I've heard reports where people, when they're driving down Dyer Lane, there'll be some drunk high school kids throwing beer bottles at them.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's not a good place to go to.
How long of a stretch is it?
I would say 3 miles.
3 miles, that's it? Okay.
Yeah, 3 mile stretch.
And the land surrounding it, that's all public land, or is that like private property, like
private property? They have some cows out there, and the cows crack me up because as soon as the cows spot you, they'll follow you. but they're fenced in. But if you're walking, let's say to your right, they'll actually follow you. And then if you walk to the left, they're following you to the left. Yeah,
So got some friendly cows.
yeah, they're very friendly. Yeah, yeah. And then also too, the reports about UFOs. People are saying that they see lights out in the fields. So I don't know about that. I haven't had a chance to go over there and check it out.
I guess every state's got that one super creepy highway. I mean, growing up in New Jersey, they always had a bunch that were like that were just secluded. You know, drunk high school kids would come out there, have all these rumors and stories and paranormal encounters and experiences and urban legends.
Donnie, you're from New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Okay, did you ever go to the Pine Barrens?
Only once on a field trip as a little kid.
Oh, okay. And you didn't run into the Jersey Devil?
No, I remember they talked about it in the on the trip there. That was part of the big urban legend to scare all the elementary school kids
Yeah.
at the time. So they really freaked us out. I remember they were talking about all that leading up to our trip to the Pine Barrens. My memory of the Pine Barrens wasn't much though, because I actually remember getting sick on that trip and then having to stay on the bus.
Oh
So,
my god.
no, actually I went there twice. I remember.
Twice?
A field trip, yeah. All in elementary school, all for a field trip. The other time it was just like us playing in the rain with like little newts and salamanders. It was a fun time, good memories as a kid, but that was it.
Yeah, and they talk about the Jersey Devil. It was like it was the 13th child to a witch or something
Yeah.
like that. And then
I've done a couple podcasts on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, and Pine Barrens has other activity over there too. It's a very haunted forest.
Criminal activity as well. So it's not a place you just want to go around investigating all willy-nilly.
Oh my god. That's funny.
It's known as the primary dumping spot for the mafia, and rightfully so. I mean, if you dump the body there, no one's finding it.
Huh. Yeah.
It's
Over
all
here,
marshland. It's all swamp, so it's
Yeah.
like super thick. You dump a body in there, it gets sucked in by the mud. No one's finding it.
Wow. Well, over here we had the West Coast Mafia,
Yeah.
and they would dump some of their bodies in the Sacramento River, or they would dump them over the Sierra Nevada mountains.
Yeah, that would be the place to do it.
Yeah, and then well, in Nevada, look at that. They had a whole desert to dump bodies.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
But for the New York Mafia, it was the Pine Barrens. They would, because Pine Barrens is all the way southern Jersey, so they would put the body in a trunk, drive all the way from like Manhattan, all the way through the Turnpike down to the Pine Barrens, just dump them in a random spot, make the 2-hour drive back.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so yeah, if you ever come to Sacramento, don't go to Dyer Lane because there's too many crazy high school kids out there.
Yeah. Plus, I'd worry about like drunk drivers and stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at that poor girl. She was driving with her brother in her car, and those 3 cars boxed her in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For no
and
reason.
Yeah, and then they stopped her. They kicked out her tail light. I mean, what was the purpose of that?
I'm thinking it was a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they thought that they were someone else that they had a beef with.
Well, that's crazy. Yeah, and the one guy had a loudspeaker. Yeah, it was telling
They
her.
were waiting for somebody. I think they just got the person mixed up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
So, I don't know, Paul. What do you want to do? We got through the video. I'm thinking we just. What do you think?
How much time do we got?
Well, I mean, we've gone for 50 minutes.
Okay. So if you want, I can give you another video.
Sure.
Yeah.
Send me a
Okay.
link.
I think I put one on your page. Let me go in there and take a look. Okay, Donny Cho. Okay, there you are. I like the video that you got on your page where Chuck Norris is beating up everybody.
Oh yeah, I found that. Yeah, I can't take credit for it. I just shared it, but yeah.
Oh, that is so funny. Oh my god.
There's a bunch of those out there, I think.
Yeah, and he's all happy about it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, I think I got one here. Oh.
You can just
Okay, I'm going to
send
send one right to you. Okay, there it is on message.
Okay. Sharing it now.
All right. This is another case that we had, and this is over in Auburn, California.
Morning, an Auburn woman is getting national attention after reaching out for some help when she suspected that her home was haunted. ABC 10's Mark S. Allen is live in Auburn this morning, hopefully. Mark, so what caused her to think this?
Yeah, I'm live. You might notice I'm trying to keep my distance both from the house for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want to disturb the people. They're sleeping, and I'm a believer. I don't want to disturb the people that might not be on the same plane that we're in, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, big star now of a national TV series. Take a look.
There is something in this house.
Yes, the hugely popular Ghost Adventures house calls on Discovery Plus descended upon this house in Auburn, California to talk to this lady, Melissa Clark. Her house and property had unusual activity. It was affecting her health. So she reached out to this guy, Paul Dale Roberts, a paranormal investigator in Elk Grove. Who knew he had local Ghostbusters?
Okay, so how did this all begin?
Easy. Ghost Adventures read a lot of my articles. I write for publications throughout the world. So it's very easy for them to find the story and say, hey, we want this.
And they came. A crew of about 50 set up base camp in Auburn for a week. The very disturbing episode now airing called Auburn in Hell.
Having just watched the episode, I got to be honest, I'm a little unsettled being in the house where I saw all of this take place. But I mean, you lived it.
Yes, I did.
What was it like having the production here at your house?
It's pretty trippy because you're like, oh God, you got to make your house look all good. You know, I mean, like, it was a lot more than we expected. But at that point, I was so sick, I didn't even care.
Not to plot spoil, but they came, they saw, they cleansed. Melissa says she, the household, and property feeling much better.
What do you say to the person that might be going through some of these things right now that thinks they're crazy? What do you say to that person? What kind of comfort do you bring?
Don't give up and find your faith. Because if I wouldn't have done this, 1000%, I don't think I would be here today. We found our way. And I think everybody should, find your way. Don't give up. Keep fighting.
Yeah, she found her peace. And by the way, when she says she was sick, that was an understatement. Like, she was hospitalized. And then they came like I said, they did a cleansing on the property and on a tree back there that you'll see if you watch the movie. It's a big part of it if you watch the series, and cleanse the house. And suddenly she felt infinitely better. She also wants me to give a shout out to her son, who makes an appearance, Matthew, currently in boot camp. So Matthew, thank you for your service, and thank you Discovery Plus and Ghost Adventures House Calls for shining some light, albeit ultraviolet, on Auburn. Back to you.
Well, Mark, you had said that they cleansed and she's feeling better. So does that mean that the problem's solved?
Yeah, that's just it. Again, I wish I could wake them up, but I don't want to wake them up. But she looks clear. The family is happy. All is well here in Auburn, despite the fact that there's now an episode called Auburn in Hell. And you'll know why when you see it.
Well, it sounds like they did their job. So I'm happy that she's feeling much better, Mark. Thank you.
I like that. I like that reporter. He seemed like a funny guy.
Yeah, he does. And also, too, he's a producer for various independent movies.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and I actually reviewed one of his movies. He usually has like a comedy, romance type movie. Yeah. Yeah, he's a funny guy. He's a nice guy. Oh, also too, I did an investigation at his studio. His studio, which is Good Morning Sacramento, he was claiming that it was haunted, and he was actually, I guess they were renovating his house, so he was actually spending some nights at the studio, this TV studio, and he was hearing footsteps knocking on the walls and stuff like that. So he called me over there, and that happened in God, I think 2012. So I did an investigation over there. I really didn't find anything, no EVPs or anything, but it made a good segment because here I am. He's funny, and I'm doing this ghostly investigation and not finding nothing. So it was interesting. I think he just did it for the publicity, so. And it's funny, Donnie, but there was one time where we did an investigation, and so I brought my whole team over there. We had all our equipment. We're walking through this 2-story house. The little girl, it was her birthday, so they had all this food, and they invited me and my investigators to go ahead and help ourselves to this buffet of food. The mother takes me off to the side, and she says, "Paul, I have a confession." And I said, "What's your confession?" She goes, "I feel really bad." And she goes, "But my daughter is really into watching paranormal TV shows, and she wanted me to invite a paranormal group to the house to investigate to see if there's any ghosts in the house," which there wasn't. We were there actually as entertainment for her daughter's birthday and her friends. And I said, so I can't get mad about that. I mean, yeah, And so we actually were showing the kids how to ghost hunt. There was no ghosts in the house, and we ate really good. They had all kinds of food, so it was
Got a free
cool.
meal out of it.
Yeah, we got a good meal. They had tacos and enchiladas and tostadas, and oh my god!
Why didn't they just set up a thing where she actually investigates an actual haunted location then, if they were so into it like that?
Well, she was a young girl, so they didn't really want. Let's say if I took her to a haunted place, and the spirits are evil or bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want her scared to death.
You gotta find the right place. Nothing too crazy, but enough lore
Yeah.
where like a kid who's into that would be interested, where it's not so bad. A controlled group kind of thing. I mean, that's what I would have done if I was gonna
Yeah.
organize it.
Well, I was in communication with the mother. It was a later time where I told her that she should do a investigation, bring her kids and investigate Newcastle, which was a little town up the road, and it has friendly spirits. So yeah. So yeah, she actually did that.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've gone an hour, Paul. Oh, and that mic fell over. I didn't even realize it. No, I think we got about 5 people watching. I'm good to call it a night. What about you?
5 people.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was a big hit.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of, well, just as a little peek behind the scenes, guys. Danielle really wants to make this a weekly thing, but she couldn't make it today. So, in the spirit of her wanting the show to be consistently on a Monday, Paul and I decided to just throw this really impromptu last-minute show up, just as a way of saying to the audience that don't go anywhere Monday nights. We will be here each and every week. Yeah, we're gonna try to make this of a more regular show, the 3 of us.
Yeah, we can do it. When Danielle's not here, you can look at this pretty face and that pretty face.
Yeah, we'll be here. Anyway, before we sign off, Paul, anything you'd like to plug or anything you'd like to share with the group?
No. If you want to read any of my stuff, just type in Paul Dale Roberts books or Paul Dale Roberts on Google and Bing, and you'll see some of my most recent articles. So, and yeah McKig,
Mickey G.
Yeah. Love to you too.
All right, everyone. Just check out my show, Donny Show Says Stuff, on Saturday nights. Same old usual place and time. And yeah, you also have a good night. Stay safe and be good to one another.
Right on.
Born from shadow, sealed in truth, ancient blood, but faith rooted proof. History whispered.